辩证的方式来被进行。
No subject should be taught only once from one perspective. Every subject should be taught at least twice from two opposing points of view.
那么任何一个观点呢，都不应该只被讲述一次，而应该以相反的观点被讲述2次。
The orthodoxies of the university culture are based on a forced marriage of method to subject matter. The orthodoxies of the university culture are based on a forced marriage of method to subject matter. For example, economics now in the North Atlantic world is not the study of the economy. It's the study of a method developed by the marginalist theoreticians at the end of the 19th century.
OK， 那么就是他刚才讲的，就是说，如今大学的一个正统文化呢，是一种就是方法和主题的一种联姻。那么比如说，如今在这个北美呢，就有一种趋势，就是研究一种方法。那么实际上，这种方法呢，是由19世纪下半叶的边缘主义研究者所创立的。
就是方法和那个主题的错误的联姻，错误的联姻，错误的，因为他那个边际主义经济分析，他认为这是一种方法，实际上边际主义经济分析不研究经济现实的，它认为方法和现实的一个错误的联姻 （mismarriage）。
The national curriculums in the world project back to the education of the young these orthodoxies of the university culture. They are a kind of infantilization of those orthodoxies. They emasculate the young and deliver them to the universities prepared for a life of intellectual servility.
那么就是如今这种国家呢为学生提供的课程呢，就是使大学生就是学生回到一种大学的正统文化当中。那么这种做法呢，它阉割了学生的能力呢，就是培养了在今后生活当中使学生们滋长出了一种就是知识上的奴性。
A dialectical education delivered early in the lifetime of the individual would immunize him against this intellectual and spiritual prostration.
那么刚才所说的那种辩证方法呢，倒是可以使人才，可以使学生免于受到这种方法的这种困扰。
Now, this is not simply a conception of general education, it's also a conception of technical education. Under the knowledge economy, instead of focusing technical education on job-specific and machine-specific skills, we would accord priority to generic, conceptual and practical capabilities.
那么就是说，这种我刚才所说的这种概念，它不仅仅适用于这种通识性的教育，也适用于技术性的教育。那么它并不是说，就是在技术教育当中呢，人也不应该仅仅就是被当作机器来对待。那么传统的这种技术教育呢，就是以工作和这种机器的使用为中心的。那么就是在这种包容性先锋主义下的这种技术教育呢，应该使人们能够掌握一些就是数控机器这种操作的能力。
So there would be a continuum between the transformed general education and the transformed technical education. Rejecting the contrast between general education for the elites and technical education for the masses.
那么就是说，在这种普通的这种教育和技术性的教育之间呢，应该有一种连续性，应该有连续性。那么这种普通的教育应该是最低的要求，那么技术教育应该是最高的要求。
The second set of conditions for an inclusive vanguardism are the social moral conditions. To prepare the basis for the necessary transformation of the moral culture of production.
那么第二个条件就是社会道德的要求，对于这种对于包容性先锋主义的社会道德的要求，一种必要的道德和社会的一种转型。
The knowledge economy, I remarked, requires a higher level of trust and a broader range of discretion on the part of each economic agent.
那么我刚才讲到知识经济呢，它需要的是一种高信任度的一个社会环境，以及这种广泛的这种辨识度以及辨别力。
And therefore, the enhancement of our powers to cooperate.
那么也需要一种这种合作这种潜力的一种提升，合作倾向的一种提升。
That enhancement must be a goal of the policy of the state, achieved through a variety of initiatives.
那么这种就是各方面这种合作能力以及这种信任度的提升呢，也应该是一个国家应该有的目标，国家应该有所提升的方面。
I give 3 examples. So first, the emphasis on the cooperative character of education.
我要给3个例子。那么第一个就是就是对于合作精神的一种教育。
Second, the engagement of civil society through cooperatives, together with the state, in the provision of basic public services of education and health.
那么就是说，第二个呢，就是要调动这个市民社会来参与国家对于公共服务和这种教育的一种提供。
Civil society must make itself through public services, partnering with the state.
那么这种市民社会呢，也应该广泛的参与公共服务，使它应该自身应该成为国家的这种提供公共服务的一部分，这种合作伙伴。
And the third example is the affirmation of a principle of universal social solidarity. Every able-bodied adult should have at least 2 positions: a position in the production system and a position in what we would call the caring economy, a responsibility to take care of other people outside the boundaries of his own family.
那么第3个原则呢，就是说在知识经济当中呢，每个人都应该拥有2重职责。第一个呢是生产的职责，那么第二个呢就是说照顾他人的一个职责。我们就是知识经济当中的每一个人都有义务去照顾在自己家庭范围之外的人。
Social solidarity cannot be based solely on money transfers organized by the state. Money is too weak a social cement.
那么就是说，这种社会的团结呢，并不是通过这个政府能够给钱、转移资金的这种方式能够实现的。那么就是金钱在实现这种社会团结当中的作用是非常弱的。
The only adequate basis of social solidarity is direct responsibility to help take care of other people.
那么唯一的就是有效的、充分的方式，实现社会团结，就是直接的照顾他人。
And that means, among other things, voluntary or mandatory social service as an alternative to mandatory military service.
那么就是说，这种志愿的服务与强制性的服务呢，应该互为补充。
I now come to the third set of conditions, the legal institutional conditions.
那么我下面讲的是第3个要求，就是法律和制度方面的要求。
Orthodox political and economic thought supposes mistakenly that the market economy has a single natural and necessary form.
那么就是法律以及制度的一些正统的这种教义呢，是有一个错误，就是他认为市场经济呢只有一种必要的形式。
The truth is that the market economy can and should exist in many alternative forms simultaneously.
那么事实上的市场经济应该是以一种同时很多种可选择的形式的方式来出现的。
The economist still tends to believe that a market is a market, a contract is a contract, and property is property. But he is mistaken.
那么经济学家依然认为呢，就是市场应该是市场，合同就是合同，财产就是财产，但是实际上这是错误的。
A democratized and experimental market economy must accommodate within itself alternative regimes of property and contract.
那么就是说，一个民主化的市场经济呢，它内部就应该有可以选择的一些方案，比如说合同和财产。
And only on that basis can we hope to achieve an inclusive form of the knowledge economy.
那么只有在这个基础上呢，我们才能够就是实现，才有可能去实现包容性的先锋主义。
So we can imagine a succession of steps going from the more moderate to the more radical.
OK， 我们可以想象这个实现这个路径的这样一些个步骤，就是以一些刚开始以较温和的方式进行，最后以较激进的方式来进行。
In the first step, our concern is to broaden access to credit, to knowledge, to technology, and to advanced practice, and to orchestrate or coordinate these different forms of access.
就是说，首先呢，就需要拓展我们这个获得信息技术以及资本的一些途径，那么并且使这些途径之间呢相互配搭。
Especially in favor of small and medium-sized innovative firms.
那么尤其是重要的是需要支持中小企业以及个体经济。
In the second step, we begin to experiment with the legal and institutional architecture of the market economy.
那么在第二个部分呢，我们开始实践这种市场经济的法律以及制度结构。
There are two main models now available in the world of relations between government and business. There is the American model of the arm's length regulation of business by government, and there is the Northeast Asian model of the formulation of unitary trade and industrial policy imposed top-down by the bureaucratic apparatus of the state.
那么就是对于这种世界上的政商关系呢，有两种典型的例子，一个是就是美国的以公平交易及市场管控的这种方式的这样一种政商关系，和东北亚的这种自上而下的由官僚主导的一元国家的这样一种政商关系。
But to disseminate the knowledge economy, we would need to create a third model, a form of strategic coordination between government and firms, especially small and medium-sized firms, that is decentralized, pluralistic, participatory, and experimental.
那么第三种方式呢，就是为了传播知识经济学呢，需要一种第三种方式，就是政府和商界的一种战略性的联盟。那么尤其是针对的是中小企业，那么让中小企业能够获得更多的这种参与机会，变得更加的多元。
Not one trade and industrial policy, but many trade and industrial policies, orchestrated by a whole range of organizations intermediate between the state and the firms.
那么就是说这个政商关系呢，需要变得更加的多元，那么市场呢也需要更多的多元化的这种市场主体。
At the same time, we would encourage among these firms practices of cooperative competition. While they continue to compete against one another, they would also cooperate, achieving economies of scale.
那么同时呢，就是在这些公司之间，这些市场主体之间呢，还需要达成一种竞争性的合作。那么既有竞争，也有合作，共同达到一种经济的规模化。
The third and most radical step in the transformation of the legal and institutional architecture is then our experimentation with the basic regime of property and contract. The terms of decentralized access to productive resources and opportunities.
那么就是这种第三个步骤呢，也就是说这种法律和制度结构上的变化，也就是需要在这种合同和财产制度方面有一个深刻的变革，需要有更多样的这种合同和财产制度。
The market economy should not be fastened to a single version of itself. On the contrary, alternative forms of the market economy should coexist experimentally within the same economic order.
那么就是市场经济呢，本身它也需要很多不同的可替代性的版本，而不只是一个版本。那么这些不同版本的市场经济呢，共同的在一个市场秩序当中来共存。
I now come to the fifth step of my argument, and I ask, what are the conditions that would make it more likely that we would be able to satisfy these three sets of requirements for an inclusive vanguardism? The educational cognitive requirements, the social moral requirements, and the legal institutional requirements.
那么第五点呢，就我论述第五点，也就是说，我想探讨一下，就是满足我刚才所提到的三个要求，比如说知识的和教育上的要求、社会道德要求，以及这个法律和制度要求的这些条件上所需要的一个，满足这三个要求所需要的条件。
Those conditions have to do with culture and with politics.
那么这个条件是与文化和政治相关。
In culture, what we need is a radicalization of the experimentalist impulse in every part of social experience.
那么就是我们在文化上，我们需要就是有这种实验性，需要将这种实验性的冲动在社会当中进行一个彻底化。
So this radicalization of the experimentalist impulse depends on practical conditions. For example,
那么这种实验性冲动的这种彻底化呢，也仰仗于一些实际的具体的条件，比如说
the dialectical character of education, the facility of an individual to change careers in the middle of his life, and assurance of a basic set of social and economic guarantees, encouraging him to experiment unafraid.
那么这一点呢，就是说，比如说刚才我们所讲到的，在教育当中的一种辩证法。那么一个人呢，他在一生当中应该被允许变换工作，尤其是在他这个生命的当中应该被允许变换工作，但是他依然需要被提供他的基本的福利应该被保证。那么他这样在变换工作的时候呢，他才没有更多的顾虑。
Together with the cultural conditions, there are the political conditions.
那么与这个文化条件就是共同相关的，还有就是政治条件。
And these political conditions begin in the recognition of a problem that is unique to our historical circumstance.
那么这个政治条件呢，需要承认，就是在我们当前的这个历史条件下，就是仅出现在我们当前这个历史条件下的一个问题，就是这个问题对我们来说是独一无二的。
Like the socialists and liberals of the 19th century, and unlike the institutionally conservative social democrats of the North Atlantic world today, we recognize the primacy of structural change.
那么就是我们就是跟那个19世纪下半叶的情况有些相似，但是跟那个今天北美的一些情况却不相同的是，我们承认这个
是说 和19世纪的自由主义者和社会主义者类似，但是和当前的西方社会民主主义者却不同。他的思想，他的意思，他更像19世纪的自由主义和社会主义者，因为他强调基本社会结构变化有优先性，而现在社会民主党就现在当前的，他们只是做再分配上的税收啊什么这种。
But unlike those liberals and socialists of the 19th century, we can no longer trust our future to a dogmatic institutional formula.
但是和19世纪的自由主义者和社会主义不同的地方，也就是说，我们不能够像他们19世纪那样，再相信未来只有一个就是教条化的未来。
Therefore, the organization of the political life of a nation must have 4 characteristics.
那么就是说，就是国家的政治生活呢，应该有4个特征。
These characteristics do not require any developing country in the world to imitate the political institutions of the North Atlantic societies.
那么这个它并不要求就是世界上的发展中国家去模仿今天的北美的政治体制。
They do require successive acts of institutional invention.
那么它需要一种制度上的创新，制度上的发明。
To achieve these, to meet these 4 criteria.
来满足这4个标准、4个条件。
The first criterion is that they help shape a dialectic, a contrast, a pluralism of forces.
那么就是第一个就是它塑造了一种就是辩证的以及这种主体的多元化，力量势力的多元化。
Without pluralism, there can be no genuine experimentation.
那么如果没有这种多元化的话，就没有真正的实验性。
The second criterion is that the constitutional arrangements allow for a rapid resolution of impasse and therefore decisive decision at the center.
那么就是说第2点呢，就是需要在这种宪法的这种安排当中呢，需要对于这种僵局的一种迅速打破。如果出现僵局的话，需要迅速被打破。
The third characteristic is that this possibility of decisive action at the center have as its counterpart the ability of parts of the country to deviate from the predominant national solution and to create counter-models of the national future. In other words, the combination of centralism with devolution.
那么第3种呢，就是说我们在拥有一个国家的这种决策的中心的同时呢，还需要一些半生品。那么就是对于国家未来发展的一种相反的一种模式，另外一种模式。
And the fourth criterion is that the political institutions encourage a high level of organized popular engagement, mass engagement in political life. A high temperature politics. Only a high temperature politics can be rich in structural content.
就是说这种第4点呢，就是说在政治的结构当中、构成当中的，我们需要更大规模、更广泛的这种民众的一种参与。我们需要营造一种高温度的政治，只有在高温度的政治的情况下，才能去实现这个我们所需要的内容。
Now I've come to the 6th and last step of my argument, and address the driving motivation or ideal of the transformation that I propose.
那么就是第6点也是我说的最后一点，就是我所倡导的这种转型背后的可能的动因。
The central task is national development.
那么中心的任务就是国家的发展。
But national development has to be understood in this way of thinking, free from certain perversions or deviations.
那么就是说，一个国家的发展往往是需要以这种方式来理解，就是没有什么偏离，没有OK。
They are all right-wing deviations.
那么这些都是右翼的一些偏离。
So first there are the right-wing deviations with respect to the attitude toward the established institutional structure.
那么就是第一个就是说右翼的偏离一些传统的已经建构好的一些建制。
At the most fundamental level, there is the deviation of market fundamentalism. The mistake of supposing that the market economy has a single natural and necessary form.
那么在基层呢是有一种就是对于市场教主义的一种偏离，那么就是认为传统的模式就是认为市场经济只有一种必要的形式。
At the higher level, at the meta level, there is what you could call the anti-dialectical deviation.
那么在高级以及中级的一些层面呢，我们就有一种叫做反辩证主义的这种偏离。
The idealization of harmony, the denial of contradiction, and the suppression of conflict.
就是这种意识形态上的要求这种和谐，以及反对冲突，就是对冲突的抑制。
And then there are the right-wing deviations that have to do with the interest or value that is at stake in the development of the nation.
那么就是说，接下来还就是右翼的一个偏离，那么就是说它的一些价值呢，都有一些的风险。
On one side, there is the individualist deviation that subordinates the development of the nation to the self-crowning, the self-construction of the individual.
那么第一种偏离就是个人主义式的偏离，那么它是从属于国家的偏离，那么它主要是看重一些个人的一些建构。
Each individual putting the crown on his head as a little Napoleon.
每个人都给自己戴上皇冠，好像自己是一个小拿破仑。
On the other hand, there is the collectivist deviation that regards the belittlement of the individual as the counterpart to the empowerment of the nation.
OK， 那么还有一种就是集体主义的偏离，那么他反对这种个人主义的偏离，认为个人主义呢是对国家的一种反抗。
A great country must encourage the formation of strong, independent personalities. There cannot be a great country composed of individuals condemned to live small lives.
那么一个伟大的国家呢，应该鼓励这种独立人格的一种养成。
The only acceptable form of the national ideal is the form compatible with the commitment to a shared bigness.
A shared bigness.
就是共享的，就是说，他因为前面说他既反对个人主义的，又反对集体主义的，就是把个人渺小化，所以他只能是共享的个人的伟大，但是共享的个人伟大。
There lies the spiritual as well as the economic significance of an inclusive vanguardism. The promise to lift up the lives of ordinary men and women, to increase their intensity, to broaden their scope, and to enhance their capabilities.
那么就是说，对于普通的个人，无论是男人女人，都希望他们的 就是将他们个人的可能性去放大，然后他们个人能力呢应该得到一个提升，他们个人的视野和所观察到的范围应该有一个拓展。
For 200 years, there has been a revolutionary project in the world.
那么200年来呢，一直有一个革命的这样一个计划，也在世界上。
This project has had two faces. One face has been political, and the other face has been personal. The political face has been represented by the doctrines of liberalism, socialism, and democracy.
就是说这个200年来，这个我们的这个都有一个这个两面性。我们就说刚才这个它两面性所指的就是一个是政治方面的两面性，一个是指的是个人方面的两面性。那么政治方面的政治一面呢，就指的是这个教条，一些教条，比如说这个自由主义、民主还有社会主义。
The personal face has been represented above all by the worldwide popular romantic culture, with its message of the godlike character of every ordinary human being.
那么就是这个人主义呢，它有在世界范围内都有一个这种浪漫主义的色彩。那么我们希望每一个人都有像那种上帝那样的性格。
Now, this project remains the most powerful agenda in the world. It continues to command the agenda of humanity. Every other project in the world is a reaction to it.
那么这一点它依然是非常有利的。那么世界上其他的一些个方案呢，都是对于这种方案的一种回应性的一种反应性的。
But it is paradoxically weak and strong at the same time, because its defenders no longer know what its next steps should be.
那么它就是也是非常矛盾的，一方面是有利的，一方面也是它的影响力也是在弱化的。
To preserve the revolutionary project, we must reinvent it.
那么为了这种保留我们的这种革命性的计划呢，我们需要重新的来发明创造。
The construction of an inclusive vanguardism is a precious opportunity for such a reinvention.
那么这种建构这种包容性先锋主义呢，是对于这种革命性计划的一种有压力的一种方法。
We do not live so as to become more godlike. Rather, we become more godlike so as to live.
那么我们现在呢，并不是像上帝一样的来生活。我们呢，想要像上帝一样的，也是为了生活。
And what we should demand above all of society is that it give each of us a better chance to die only once.
那么我们所要求的就是，能够给我们的人生更好的机遇，让我们只死一次。
Thank you.